Welcome Linux enthusiast. This is the 20th episode of our Linux learning series. If you have missed any of our previous episodes, you can check out the list here. In this video, we'll be talking about functions available in Linux as well as the daily use cases which you can leverage in the Linux. If you're looking to upskill in Linux and get globally recognized certificates, you can check out our DevOps course. The link is given below in the description box. Alright, let's start the video now. Alright, so let's talk about the functions in shell scripting. So far we have been discussing about various loops available in the shell scripting, how do you write the shell scripting, what are the commands. It's basically nothing but a sequences of command that you execute as a file, executable file. Then we also saw how do you make your own command. Basically it's nothing but a scripting written sequential of commands, and then you can just give that executable privileges. Once you assign that, you can after that rename the file with your own name or whatever the name you want to choose, and then you can execute as your own command. That's what the Linux give you functionality to customize the commands according to your ease. So today we'll be discussing about functions available in shell scripting. So when I say functions, what does it mean is function basically give you a variety of modular code that you can build up and use. So basically, for example, think like there is a set of code line which is written. With the help of function, you don't have to write the similar code again and again. Rather, you can just have a block of function, and after that you can just recall the function whenever it's required. So that's what the ease of a function. You don't have to repetitively call the or write the same code, but using functions you can just directly call and get the output of whatever the code was written in. After that we will see the real practical examples of shell scripting available these days. So like for example, like how do you archive or compress the file automatically whenever it turns to, let's say, 10 days old or a month old or whatnot, right? Then we will also see how do you automatically clean up the temporary files. So there's a shell scripting you can use. So as you remember that we have been discussing about the use cases, the real-time use cases. So we will be talking and seeing the hands-on for those use cases in today's chapter. Then we will be seeing how do you monitor and reporting about the disk space issues, so that admin can take actions further whenever it's required. So you don't want things to be all the time manual. So shell scripts provides you automation to do that. So why not to use that automation now? So and then it will be talking about automating servers with various tasks, whatever you can set up the task and you can perform. Then user management and securities, we will be seeing that as well, and then automating backups also we'll be seeing via this. So let's start doing the hands-on. You can see my screen. Currently I'm on Ubuntu machine. So let's start with the function definition. So if we say basic function, how does a basic function look like? So this is the shebang header that we have spoken about. It tells that we are currently writing our code in the bin bash shell. So the function name is greet. So this is how you define a function in shell scripting. There's a function called greet. Now this greet, what it does is it just prints the hello, and then whatever the argument you are passing while executing this script. So this is $1 is the first argument. You remember in the last chapter we spoke about $1, $2, $hash, question marks, and so spatial spatial words in the shell scripting. How do you use those? Then we talked about operators and so stuff. Then after that we are just calling this function. So how do you call it? You can just type the name of the function and then you can just provide the argument. So whatever the argument you're passing, this argument will be the first argument that you're passing to the function, and then it will print this. So let's execute this. And then we will see it has printed as hello world, because hello was already there and world is the string that we are passing here in the greet function calling. If you change this, let's change it out and say Himanshu, and then execute it. So it will say hello Himanshu, because this Himanshu string is a first argument, and after that it has just appended that argument. So basically this is how you can define a function. Very small way, I'm just trying to explain this, but yeah, you understood the part is that we'll be seeing further more complex operations using functions later, but in a simplest way to explain is this, that a function is a set of code, but here this set of code is just of one liner, which is just printing the string, and then it is taking the arguments. It's very simple, in that terms. So that is a basic function example. Now we will be seeing function with the return value. So when we say return value, what does it mean? That it meant it returns something. So return in the sense it is providing you some output. You can use that return value and then do whatever the operation you would want to do, or you can just print that return value as well, depending on the use cases. So we have a requirement. Let's say we want to add numbers, okay, mathematical operations we are doing. So we have created a function called add underscore number. After that, in that function, we are writing this 2-line set of code. It says that result is the variable. So it is storing the value of your first argument and the second argument, okay. Then it is returning that argument as in this variable called result. If we don't do return, then you have to print it or use this value of this variable value result within the definition of function, but usually that is not how the function are being written. So it also, it depends, whenever you want to fetch some values and then use that value somewhere else in some other functions, so you always prefer to create a function which returns something to you, so that you can use that value later in your code. So here example you see, so this is basically returning you the value of result variable. After that we are calling this function add numbers, and we are providing 2 arguments, one is 5, one is 3, okay. Now you see this echo, this command we are executing outside the function definition. So function definition starts from this curly braces and ending with this curly braces. So outside this function scope, we are saying echo the sum is whatever the sum. So this basically is a spatial variable. We spoke yesterday that it prints the it basically returns the last command that you executed, the output of that. So last command output would be this. So when you are executing this command, so this is nothing but a function calling function. Which function? Add underscore numbers with these 2 arguments. So this will take as per the definition of this function, and it will add 5 plus 3, which is 8, okay, and that 8 value will be stored in the variable result, and after that you are returning that value of result, which is 8. So you have returned it, so that will return, and then you can use that value, whatever the last command that you are executing, return value of that command will be $? So if you execute this function with the return value, it will print you the sum is 8, okay. Let's say for example you want to sum 500 or 200, then you can just tweak these values, okay, and then it will print you the value of that. Wait, something is wrong here. It's not 7, it should be 700. Wait, find a 200. Cool. As such, okay. What if, let's say 10, 20, 30. So let's say 10, 200, 210, that is fine. So basically it should supposed to print the value. Something is happening beyond 500 if you are going, need to check further, but you got the idea that once you once you basically provide the out, so this basically prints the whatever the output you are getting it. So let's do this instead of it. Let's say if you make a change, if we use the last value as in dollar result. Okay. Yeah, that is one way to do this. 260. Yeah, this is perfect. What if I say let's say 500? Yeah, now this is perfect. So you can use like this, you have utilized the variable value return. Also, there is one more way, I guess, you can use it. Like for example, you are using echo command, and then this echo, you are directly using numbers, and let's say 10. I'm just messing up here just to see if this works or not. It's just a trick. So according to the ease, like you can just use it and play around with it and see if it works. Yeah, so it's not taking that thing. But in Python, like similar thing, you can print it, the values you can just execute. So yeah, anyway, so basically you understand the functionality of a function, which means a set of code which is can be used n number of times. For example, like what I was saying here, let's delete this. Okay, for example, like you can copy paste this line and then multiple times, so which says that you can just multiple times you can use the same, or you can call this function. So this is like a very small set of code, but what if there are multiple functions there, and then you can use this add underscore numbers, take the value of it, and then put that value in some other set of code in the another function. So something like that also you can create, and then this will basically work for you. Oh, we did not save it actually. Yeah. So so that is a usage of using return values, where you can get the value from that variable once you call that function, and after that you can utilize that value anywhere else in your script or the code. Okay. Now let's see function, how do you use the echo that we are using so far, but with echo function using echo for output. So this is the function where add function, what it is doing is it is doing a sum of first argument and second argument. After that, it's storing the value of this sum into the variable called sum, and then it is printing the value for you. And then later you are just setting up a variable which basically does call this function with the argument which is 10 and 20, and it stores the value into result. Then later you can just echo the value of result. So it is doing the same way. You could have removed this here and then return the sum value, and then you can use sum instead of result, as we saw in the previous example. But like this also you can use, so it's like a functionality. You can tweak, change whatever you would want to. Based on that you can do this. Let's change the values and see. Yeah, so that is how you can use echo command with the functions. Okay, let's see functions with the multiple commands. So here you see there is a function called system info. This function is basically executing these three different commands: hostname to print the hostname, uptime, like since when this machine is running, and then amount of memory available used on our machine. So this will print all these three values, and then later we are just calling this function. So once we call this function, whatever the set of code is written inside this function, it will basically execute, and then it will do whatever you are asking it to do. So let's just try to call this way, function with multiple commands. So this has executed three commands. One is hostname, which is this, and then uptime, and then free memory, which is free -h. So if you execute three commands, it's like a time consumption, right? So three commands manually somebody is executing, but there is a script. That script also you can use in cron jobs. if you remember, we talked about schedulings where we want every 2 a.m. There is a script which should automatically execute, which performs these 3 commands and then prints the output on the screen. So that admin just monitor the screen saying that, okay, what is the current size, stage of the memory? What is the host name not changed? Like something can happen, right? So you can set up use scripts and use cron jobs in order to make sure it can become a scheduler task for the user, and it's kind of easy for user to see the things. So that's how you can use scripts in terms of various use cases, whatever come across. Then we will see using local variables, function with local variables. Okay, so here is a keyword called local. We are saying it local because explicitly we are defining this is a local variable which is locally available on this shell session. Okay, the variable name is product. It is basically multiplying two arguments, argument 1 and 2. So when you call this function multiply, given with the argument value 5 and 6, then it will basically take these values and then creates a local variable product, and then you are just printing that variable, and it's local, which means it can change. So here in this term, it will not be like it just trying to make it understand how do you define the local variables inside a script, or more of like in the functions. So you can just get the value multiplication. If you want to change it, you can change it as well. Let's say it will print the multiplication value. So this is the function using local variables. Then we will see recursive function. So this is the recursive function. Basically, we are calculating the factorial, and after that we are just printing with the whatever the argument that you are providing, and then it calculates the factorial for you. So this is the code for the factorial recursive function. So let's try to execute this. So it will print the value. If you want to change it, so you can, let's say I want to calculate factorial for 5. 5, okay. So then it takes the value 5. It says what is the value 5 less than 1? Definitely it's not less than equals to 1, right? So nothing will print, like it will skip this part. After that else so this code will be ignored because the value 5 is anyways greater than 1. So it will just take that code. Whatever is written, it is basically the previous value we are calculating, which means the 5 minus 1, which is 4. So we are calculating factorial 4 and then multiplying it with the value. So that's how we are calculating. Wait, I think we did not save it. So 5 into factorial 4 we will be calculating, which is nothing but 120. So that's how you can use. Okay, there is one more thing I was just trying to show it up here. So there is a command I created, factorial. So this is a script to calculate the factorial for any number. So this script has a logic where it is using for loop, and whatever the number that you are passing, which is argument, let's say you pass 6, so it will take this. So loop will be driven until the value of I, which is 1, till reaches 6, which means 1 2 3 4 5 6, and then it will calculate the factorial. Okay, so it will just take this value fact is 1 into I, which is 1. Okay, it will store the value here, and then it will print whatever the number that you provide. So this will basically keep on updating. So let's say value 1, first value is 1, so it takes 1 into 1, which is 1. Okay, after that the fact value is 1, then value of n changes, which is 2. So it says, okay, I1 is still less than 1, so then again calculate the factorial fact value 1, whatever it's stored, and then multiply with I, and then you increase the I, so I from 1 to 2. So this value fact will become from 1 to 2, 2 into 1, then 3 into 2 into 1, then 4 into 2 into 1, something like that. It will calculate, and then it stores the factorial value into fact. Later, in out of this function code, we are basically on the shell using read function to read the input, whatever you would want to provide. So this basically reads like in the same line. You don't have to go to another line. So usually, if you notice earlier so far, we have been using echo command, enter the number. After that, in the next command, read and then number, whatever. But if you want it to be in the same line, so you can use -p. Okay, enter the number, whatever the number you provide, and if the number is less than 0, definitely factorial is not defined for negative numbers, you will get that. If it is not 0, then it will just call this function and calculate whatever the number you are providing. Okay, so let's just execute this command. Let's say 10. Okay, okay, so basically this script itself is asking the numbers so that you don't have to explicitly provide as an argument. So they say what is the number you want to calculate the factorial for, say 10. Okay, so it has calculated factorial 10 would be this much. Okay, now what I want is, see, there is no direct command in Linux available, okay, factorial or something, and there is no such package also, I believe, which can just calculate the package for you, or like a factorial for you. You may have to use bc command just to calculate as a calculator. Let's say bc also is a good command to calculate whatever you want to calculate. Let's say 5 and 5 percentile 4, so it will calculate that for you, reminders and all. But using bc you can have multiple pipe and some sort of a code that is required in order to calculate the factorial, but there is no such explicit command for factorial. Okay, but now since we have this script which perfectly calculates the factorial, let's make this script as a command. Why not? That's what the Linux give you capability, right? So what I'm going to do is, if you remember in the last session we talked about paths. These are the paths for the shell variables, the global variables. So I will just move or copy this script, let's just simple copy in one of these locations. So I'll just copy it under /usr bin. That's it. Okay, using sudo because these are always be accessed by the root user. All right, now if you execute, and then you have to change the script name also, because now the command is ready. Okay, but it's the naming convention is factorial.sh, but I don't want this to .sh also, right? Let's just rename it, say usr bin factorial, change it to usr bin. We are using move command to rename the script. Okay, all right, we have to use sudo. All right, so now if you see, factorial command is present in our system and it will calculate the factorial for you. So whatever the number, let's say 4, it calculates the factorial for you. So that's how easy you can make a script, whatever the logic that you have, and you can make a command, your own command. So see, the advantage of using such facility is, you can create your own setup where you don't have to manually execute a big long command all the time. It's not something, when Linux has this capability, why not to use it? So you can make your own short command. So this is still like a big command. Some people may not like, oh, why do I have to still type factorial? Why not just say FAC? That also should calculate me factorial. So you can just rename it to FAC and then it will calculate the same way. So that is advantage of using Linux and shell scriptings, the way it modifies and then you can use it up. All right, so now let's go ahead and then we will see how does a function work with the error handling part. So let's see function with error handling. Okay, so there is a function. This function is just checking the value of first argument, basically the file. If it is checking a file for you, so if there is a file, then the file exists. If this is not null, that means the file does not exist. Okay, it will just directly print it for you. Now what all files you want to check? So I am calling this function called check file and then passing the file name in as an argument. So since these files, if you remember, we spoke in the permission, these files are present in our systems. So since it does, then definitely it says file this etc passability exist. So this is how good this utility, you can just make a command and say, when you execute this command, any file that you want to see, you just pass that value of that file, and then you can just, instead of providing the argument here, you can read the argument on the shell itself, that also, by using read -p. So this file is present, we all know that it will say this thing, but this file is not present. I have not created this non-existing file. Okay, let's see what it basically prints it for us with error handling. So this is file, this is exist, and this file does not exist. So this, see how easy is just to you can concept. So earlier what is the alternate, what you used to do? We used to do ls. If we get the output of this file, which means okay, ls, which means the file exists. But why not, why to use ls? Let's say there are thousands of files that you want to check. You can create a script and then you can manually remove all the usage of the commands, right? So that is how you can use functions with error handling and file checks. Okay, now let's check function with multiple commands. So this we have seen, a function which has multiple commands can execute and then provides the output of the command. Now let's look at some hands-on practical use cases which are majorly being used in the industry. People who are working as a DevOps, SRE or system admins, they have this day-to-day tasks where they have to calculate backup, make sure the size of the disk is fine and stuff. So that's where the use cases comes, right? So let's talk about first use cases, archiving and deleting our old file. So there is a script. Okay, see, it's very single liner. So if it's just using find command that we have already seen in our command chapters that when we were talking about command. So it's basically reviewing the logs, syslogs, you all remember /var/logs, only the type f, which is a file type. The name should have an extension called .log. M type means 30 days. If it is more than 30 days, then what do you want to execute? You want to create a backup and using tar command. Tar we have already seen previous chapters. Tar cvz, it will create a zipped, forcefully for this backup. So it will create a backup inside varlog archive folder. Okay, and then whatever the base name of the file would be, with the extension tar.gzip. That's how the tar basically creates it. So that is what it is doing. So it's like very small script. So if you execute this script, it will try to store the backup and then it'll backup and then put it into the archive folder. I'm getting permission and error because I'm executing with star agile user. If I would have executed with root, then it would have done its own job. So it will basically, some files which are not present or already archived. So some errors I'm getting, but still it should create that archive folder for you, and then make it a tar file for it. So it's basically trying to check that, and you can break that script actually to see, okay, these are the log files which are currently present. First find those log files and then tweak the tar command to calculate it. So that's how you can utilize. Now this script looks like very it's something which is doing its job, let's say, but it is just a single liner, right? It is not describing the use case of it. By the name we understand, but what if you want to a proper coder always provides the description of what command it is doing. So for example, like you can just tag it, say, okay, this is basically finding files, finding.log files present under whatever, right? So you can just describe the usage of your commands. You can break it down and then you can use a script. So that's like a proper way, real way to use it, so that later if somebody refers to your script, should be able to have this understanding, okay, oh, this is how you break down the script, what you are writing, and then the command, it basically tries to checks it up. So that is how you can use archive using tar command for the, and then you can delete it also, older files. All right, now let's let's clean the temporary files. So for that as well, so we can use this command. It basically anything try to find in /temp folders type file which is older than 7 days, and then you just remove that. Okay, so first let's say if you execute just this much command on your shell, okay, and then see the output. So these are permission in it, but let's execute like this. Okay, so currently, okay, sorry, sudo find /temp. So there is no such file in temp folder. So is it? Okay, but yeah, plus one, which means like 1 day older files are present, but not 7 days. Okay, so once it gets this file, I don't want to delete it, but because maybe some other issues, if they are being used or swap or something, right? So I don't want to do that. But after that, you can just execute this exec rm. So this will basically remove it, but it will ask you basically for approval, or it will not delete the recursive as well, because you're not adding option R here. But if you don't want to ask anybody, and then says recursively delete whatever the folder and files which are older than 7 days, only the files here. But yeah, in case you don't want to do file based filtering, you can remove this and then say anything which is present under this and then older than 7 days, you can just delete it. So you just think like the easiness of the shell scripts, you know about operators, you know about logics of reading variables and then putting the values inside it. But after all, what is shell scripting? It is basically nothing but commands, set of commands that you are executing on your shell. Whatever you have been doing manually, you are just automating it by writing in a file and then make the file to executable and then execute it. So that is how easiness of shell scripting is. Then let's talk about disk usage, disk space monitoring. What we are doing here, this is kind of calculating the usage. So using df command, if you remember, we used to monitor the file system space in slash, and then it is printing the fifth value, the used value. And then you are doing further replacing this using sed command. Then it is basically printing the current usage of the terminal. Once you get that, and then you can just add a logic here, just to first it will print the alert message to the terminal saying the disk space is above this blah blah threshold. So currently threshold is marked for 10. If in case threshold goes above 10, so 10 is not a justifiable number here, to be very honest. Usually you can calculate for 90%, so you can just make change instead of 10 to 90. Currently my system is not 90% use. That's why I just wanted to highlight that how does this work. So currently it's used 20%. That's why I say disk space is about 10%. Current usage is 20%. Okay. So you can just see like this, df slash, so it basically calculates that for you. So in case this is beyond 90%, you can change the threshold, and then it will basically send an email. This condition requires you should have a postfix SMTP server configured. If you do, then it will just send an email to you, to the user. All right. So that is about calculating the disk space. And then you can just send emails, you can alert systems, and you can add a number of tools, monitoring tools, on top of it, like just send me email or just notify me so that admin can reduce the size or can do some action on top of it, some positive actions, right? So now let's see uptime, if we can calculate. Okay, I got some email. Uptime down. Okay, so this basically saying that current downtime. So what if the downtime is in 30 minutes? Let's say if your system is down for 5 minutes or 10 minutes or 30 minutes or whatnot, right? So you can calculate that downtime for you, and then the current system up, like let's say the system was up and running for last 30 minutes or more than 30 minutes or 1 hour. So you can change these settings. So this will convert the uptime to minutes. Okay, that is fine. And then it checks if the uptime is less than the downtime, which means there are chances, let's say for example, there is a server which automatically switches off, for some reason, some configuration problems or some other conflicts. So because of that, whenever admin restart the server, it automatically goes to downstate. Then again, you have to restart and then goes to downstate. So this will calculate, okay, downtime threshold was 30 minutes, but your system was up for 15 minutes. That means some problem, right? So downtime should be very less. 30 minutes is still too much. Real time environment is like the downtime can be, let's say, 5 minutes or within seconds also if it is down. But in case of cluster nodes, 5 minutes is also fine, because in that case your health checks will kick in, and then traffic will be redirected to some other cluster. But if it is let's say 2 minutes or 1 minute, it replace that node or do something like that. So you can tweak the changes that way. So this is calculating, okay, server has been down, and immediately send email to whatever your system server admin email address or anything like that. Or if it is uptime is above threshold, then print this message saying that this is so currently it has sent, because maybe it was calculating the downtime and stuff. All right. Now let's check how do you create multiple users. So for admin, let's say there is any in the organization, there are use cases comes, right, where there are 5 users join the company. So admin does not just create one by one all 5 user accounts. No, there is a script which kicks in and it creates the 5 user in one go. Similarly, we also have create user script, so which basically reads the usernames from this file, and then if this file is not present, it will print the error saying that the file is not there. Once if it reads the file line by line and then tries to create the user by using user add command, and once it do that, and then after that it reset the password as well for the user. So you can just use this. So I'm just trying to show up here cat users.txt. So these are the 3 users I'm just trying to create. For your checking, I'm just trying to say that this user does not currently exist on my machine, but I'm just trying to create these 3 users. So you can use create user script, since user creation is always be created by suit privileges. Okay, so these user names are created. Perfect, awesome. Now you can at least see if the users are created or not. Last 3 lines. So you can see last 3 lines has the entry for users automatically being created. Later you can change passwords and log into the user, or give user credentials first time whenever you log in, then you have to immediately change your password, something like that. But see how easy it has become by using shell scripting, that you can just create users for admins, like multiple users you can create it, and then it just kicks the job. So see, that's easy. Now you can similarly use this delete as well, like to delete the users also, something like that. Let me just see if I have anything. Delete also. Okay. Users underscore delete. All right. So this will basically use user delete and their home directory also, and then whatever the user you have provided in the file users to delete.txt. So if you read users to delete, what was it? Wait. So users to delete. So this has 3 username that we have created. We want to delete those users. So user delete.sh. So it has completed already deletion process, but we will execute this. Okay, now the user names are deleted successfully, because earlier we were not using it with the root privileges. If you try to grab it now, okay, let's say username 1, okay, okay, pass wd tail-3. So you see these 3 users that we have created has automatically deleted after executing this script. So this is how it makes easy for people to use this shell scripting. There is one more use case we will see about automating backup. Let's just try to see. So you can grab like this. Okay, there is no such file or directory. Backup or something. Backup script. Okay. So this basically, log the backup start time. First, it defines a source directory where of what directory you want to take a backup and where you want to store the backup, destination directory, and define the log files to store the backup. Okay, that is there. So once you define all these three things, retention period is 30 days, which means if it goes to that date, it will start automatically takes the backup. Okay, and then it will rename the file with this format. So this format basically, I'll just show it up in the local shell. For example, if I create a directory called ji and then use this, okay, I'm just trying to create a text file, but you see, okay, directory ji.txt has not taken this. Wait a minute. Okay, it has taken, but it is like creating different. There might be some issue here, something it's not doing. Exist. Okay, it's not taking that way. Yeah, but with this, basically it will just take the date and then it start printing with the same name. And then it will store the backup with a naming convention where it says the timestamp of the day when the backup was created, so that it's easy for admin to identify, oh, this backup file is for that time period, this backup file for that time period. So it's easy to find out those. And then once the backup is successful, after that you can just remove the older files older than retention days, which is 30 here. So you can change it, you can tweak it, and then you can just execute. So see, without doing shell scripting, you can also execute these manual commands. These are the variables, you can define local variables and then you can perform it. But with the help of shell scripting, it can be a n number of lines. So it does not. And one more thing, you always remember that there are multiple ways to write the scripts. Some people write it in a good way where they can use shortest logics in order to make it more enhanced, plus also add the descriptions defining that what this basically line doing. So these are all behavior and good tactics way, and always recommendable to create your scripts like this. So that is how you can create a backup and then delete the older files. So this is about the shell scripting. Later you can just send emails on the files. If some issue comes up, just send an email to me, or some other issue comes up, notify the admin and reduce the file size or disk space usage and whatnot. So there are n number of use cases, and you can just start with the basic shell scripting, and then slowly you can add on the new logics, whatever you would want to, and make it more easy for you. So it's fine just to start where you just don't understand, okay, this could also be a logic, but with the time you will get this understanding once you start using that. So I just tried to explain in the simplest form of how does the shell scripting you can use, and then make sure you leverages the real-time situations and you can tweak the scripts according to your use cases. So yeah, that's about the real-time and practical examples and demos for the shell scriptings.
If you want to learn Linux and get certified from IBM, click on this link given below in the description. That's a wrap for this chapter. I'll meet you in the next episode of this Linux series.